Good to have you with us on a Friday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
Yeah, there's a little bit of good news. It's Friday morning. I'm Savannah Sellers.
Let's begin this morning with the 38th day of the government shutdown and some of the nation's biggest airports bracing for a major slowdown. Airlines are already canceling hundreds of flights. It's because Trump administration officials issued an emergency order slashing air traffic at 40 of the busiest airports by 10%. The first phase starts today at 4%. With plans to slowly ramp up over the coming week.
It's an effort, officials say, to relieve some of the pressure on air traffic controllers. Airports are dealing with serious staffing shortages as federal aviation workers are set to miss their second full paycheck next week. In Washington, the Senate is expected to hold a key vote today that could reopen the government. Until then, some TSA officers say they are worried about how they're going to pay for the basic necessities.
I shouldn't be treated like this working for the federal government. We're expected to come to work each day with a smile on our face under the tumultuous stress of the general public. There's no relief. There's no aid.
Some rental places only give you maybe, I think, a week's tops to actually pay rent and mortgages.
These are things that are hard to explain to our families. How do I explain to them that, mommy is having a hard time putting food on the table for them?
Going.com travel expert Katie Nastro is going to tell us everything that you need to know if you're planning on traveling if you have to for something. But first, let's go to NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona for the latest on the shutdown. Mel, good morning. So first, let's get some details on how this works. Are airlines kind of left to their own to decide which flights to cancel? Are they getting guidance from the FAA on this? How's it work?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So the FAA has only instructed how much to cut flights. That would be 4% starting today, up to 10% by next week. And they've only said this should apply to domestic flights, not international flights. They've also instructed which airports. So there's 40 different airports all around the country, a lot of them major hubs from Chicago O'Hare, Boston Logan, all through New York airports. That means that it's really up to airlines to figure out how to implement this. Although the FAA can reject some of these cuts if it disproportionately affects certain communities. And in the meantime, the airlines are really scrambling to try to figure this all out. What that means, American Airlines, they're planning to cut 220 flights just today. Delta, 170 flights. Just to give you a sense of how much this is going to impact customers. And for the airlines, that is just a huge headache. So they started rolling out plans for vouchers, for rescheduling protocols, for how this is going to be impacting passengers. Just a lot of chaos that we are bracing for this weekend as this shutdown is still dragging on.
So, Mel, federal transportation officials are stating the obvious. The longer the shutdown drags on, the worse the chaos at the airports is going to get. Is this airport chaos, especially with the holidays around the corner, the thing that's most likely to push lawmakers to find a solution? And that vote later today, is there anything different about this one?
Well, there's nothing going to be different about the outcome, unfortunately, today. We are getting the sense that Democrats are going to mostly vote against this plan today. But what is different about what the GOP leadership was planning to put on the floor today was not just the stopgap spending bill that they've been voting on over and over again. But if Democrats agreed to advance that bill, the plan was to, A, amend the end date, because right now that stopgap spending bill only has funding until November 21st, which now is just around the corner. So they were going to amend that date to a different date, potentially in January. And then they were also going to attach 3 long-term funding bills as a sign of good faith that they're moving along with the appropriation process. And finally, they were going to promise a vote at a future date on extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which has been at the heart of this shutdown. But Democrats, after a meeting yesterday, decided that they're going to band together and hold out for more because they feel encouraged by the election results on Tuesday, where Democrats had a big night. And they're also sensing that Trump is getting really antsy because after Tuesday, he started blaming Republicans. He started to call on them to end the shutdown immediately. So Democrats, they want to hold out for even more at this point, which means we're unclear about how long this shutdown is still going to last.
And then, Mel, let's talk about the House side of this. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson hasn't called representatives back to Washington since their last vote, and that was on September 19th. Where does he stand when it comes to some of the promises that Republicans in the Senate are considering making to Democrats here?
Yeah, this is why Democrats are so reluctant to back that deal I was talking about in the Senate, because House Speaker Mike Johnson has not promised to give a floor vote on extending Obamacare subsidies. Just listen to what he said when he was asked that very question at a press conference yesterday.
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out.
So Democrats understandably have some trust issues here. They want a solution and an outcome, not just a vote, especially if they're not even going to get a vote in the House, guys.
All right, Melanie Zanona, thank you very much.
Let's get more on this major flight disruption with Katie Nastro. She's a travel expert with Going.com. Katie, first of all, just put into context the sheer scale of this flight reduction. How unprecedented is it?
Yeah, look, this is something we have not seen outside of bad weather or tech outages, for example. But what I do want to highlight is that today, November 7th, with this beginning, we're seeing less than 4%, just under 750 flights being impacted. And they're really regional, short haul, think quick commuter flights like New York to DC that have multiple flights on the schedule. So we're not seeing these sort of drastic cuts that could potentially come. Some carriers are seeing more cuts than others. United, for example. But for some big perspective, according to Cirium Analytics, this is the 72nd worst day of flight cancellations, not the absolute worst. So I want people to sort of put that into perspective. But as we go on and we reach that 10% threshold of reductions, that's where we can see flight cancellations well into the thousands.
It looks like most airlines are offering refunds to passengers also who are willing to cancel their plans, right? Talk about how airline companies are responding to all this and that choice for passengers if you should just be canceling.
Yeah, look, a lot of travelers out there are asking, what are my rights? What do I have in the way of being able to make changes? And airlines are being proactive. Most major carriers, the big three, have put out statements or waivers. We really see these around winter weather when they can impact flights, but they've been proactively offering this to travelers where they're able to make changes without any additional fees, even on the most restrictive fare types. So think if you purchased a basic economy ticket, you're able to make changes or outrightly cancel, get that credit or refund if you choose. I personally had to change my flight a few times and was walloped with a sticker shock additional fee. But that's because we just have no idea, this was such a fast moving scenario and it still is. But luckily for travelers in the U.S. on domestic flights or even international flights on a domestic carrier that's offering one of these waivers, they have the rights to make changes without additional cost.
Katie, for those who can't cancel or change their plans, who just absolutely need to fly over the next few days, what's your advice to them? Is there anything they can do to maybe not ensure, but to at least improve their odds they get a seat on a flight that's not affected?
Yeah, I think the name of the game here is if you are outrightly canceled, you want to act quickly because they're going to be slightly fewer flights. That means fewer seats to get rebooked on. Having your airline app is sort of your golden ticket to be able to make any changes in real time, as well as you need to stay connected on all forms of communication with the airline. That means setting up those annoying push notifications. I know they can cause a little bit of a headache, but they will keep you informed as fast as possible in real time, as well as if you want to give yourself as much information as possible, looking ahead to potential delays, for example, you can download apps like Flighty, which actually provide real-time updates a little bit faster than the airlines, as well as just, monitoring the situation as much as possible. And if you can make any changes, try to target those morning flights, even amid the shutdown. Those are your best odds for getting out on time.
All right. Katie Nastro, you'll be busy these next few days.
No
Thanks
kidding.
for joining us this morning.
Well, for more on the shutdown, let's bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. Gabe, good morning. So another one of these real impacts for real people, in addition to the chaos at airports, right, is those SNAP benefits that a lot of families just simply need. And a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to deliver those SNAP payments in full to states today. This was after an advocacy group had sued the Department of Agriculture. That was last month, saying that SNAP funding, after they said that SNAP funding would not be distributed in November. Walk us through the ruling here and if the administration plans on delivering those payments today.
Well, Savannah and Joe, good morning. Yes, 42 million Americans rely on those SNAP benefits, and right now they're in limbo. That's because the White House is appealing this ruling, and overnight the vice president blasting it on social media as absurd. Look, the White House has said that It does not need to fully pay out these benefits because of the government shutdown. Now, several days ago, the administration had said it would partially fund this using a contingency fund. But then just a couple of days ago, the president on social media said that these benefits would not be paid out until Democrats ended the shutdown. His press secretary clarified that he was talking about future benefits, but in this ruling, the judge referred to what the president was saying and say, no, you can't do that. By statute, this program needs to be funded. But again, as of now, it's unclear whether they'll meet that deadline today. But the administration is pushing back on this, Savannah and Joe.
Gabe, let's talk about jobs. There's new data from a leading research firm that shows U.S.-based companies cut more than 153,000 jobs last month. That's the highest loss of jobs in October since 2003, so more than 20 years. The federal government's October jobs report would have been released today. That's not going to happen because of the shutdown. Yeah. What's the White House saying to any of these numbers? Just what's their overall stance on the state of the economy right now?
Well, Joe, no response yet from the White House to that specific analysis. But overall, the White House, the Treasury Department, they have been trying to make the argument that job creation is booming in this country. And the president will talk about that every chance he gets. And yet, because of these elections in New York and New Jersey, in Virginia earlier this week, and those devastating election results for Republicans, a rare acknowledgement from the president that Republicans need to be talking about affordability more. It's something that we've heard from him over the last 2 days or so, trying to hit that affordability message. But still, the White House officials that you speak with, they will keep trying to make the argument that the president campaigned on affordability, that they've done several things, including the One Big Beautiful Bill, that have affected Americans positively in their view, but that Americans right now aren't feeling it. And therefore, we're just seeing that analysis with so many job losses right now. It's something that the Trump administration is actively, a perception they're actively trying to fight against, Savannah and Joe.
Gabe, one more thing. The Trump administration given a win yesterday by the Supreme Court, allowing the White House to enforce this policy, restricting sex designations on passports to male and female based on sex assigned at birth. It's something that President Trump pushed for on day one of his second term. What should we know about the ruling? Where does this fight go from here?
Now, this was an emergency request. The ruling was on the emergency request, so it's only temporary at this point. But it does overturn this policy that the Biden administration introduced back in 2021 that allowed individuals to put X as their gender marker and not have to put their gender assigned at birth. This is seen as a significant blow to transgender rights, but it's also an example of the Supreme Court allowing the president's executive power. This is something that his administration has wanted, as you said, since very early on in the administration. But again, moving forward, this is not a final ruling. The case is then kicked back to the lower courts. But again, seen as a significant blow for transgender rights, Savannah.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you very much.
It is the end of an era after nearly 4 decades on Capitol Hill. Longtime Democratic California Congresswoman, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, will not seek re-election in 2026. The 85-year-old who made history as the nation's first female House Speaker announced her decision in a video yesterday. NBC News senior Washington correspondent, News Now anchor Hallie Jackson, takes a look back at Pelosi's remarkable career.
The motion is adopted.
The end of an era for Democrats and for one of the country's most powerful women in politics ever.
I will not be seeking re-election to Congress.
85-year-old Nancy Pelosi announcing her retirement.
We have always led the way, and now we must continue to do so by remaining full participants in our democracy.
Pelosi was first elected to represent San Francisco nearly 40 years ago, ultimately becoming in 2007 the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House.
Today, broken the marble ceiling.
Pelosi helped shepherd the Affordable Care Act into law under President Obama and pushed a climate and health care law under President Biden, wielding her influence to nudge him out of the 2024 race.
Nancy,
and with President Trump, Pelosi became an antagonist. This week.
He's just a vile creature, thing on the face of the earth.
President Trump.
I think she's an evil. I'm glad she's.
Some Republicans have questioned the millions she and her husband made in stock trades, with Pelosi brushing off accusations of insider trading, saying she's not involved in her husband's investment choices. Pelosi has faced the threat of political violence. 3 years ago, Paul Pelosi was attacked in the couple's home. Her focus on her constituents as she steps away from the chamber she shaped for decades.
She is the most effective speaker in American history.
Looking ahead, Pelosi's retirement may send a signal to other long-serving Democrats to make room for younger leaders. Back to you.
Allie, thank you.
Well, in Louisville, the death toll from that UPS cargo plane crash has risen to 13 people, while several others remain unaccounted for. The community held a vigil on Thursday for the victims as NTSB investigators work to find out just what caused this horrific crash. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello covers aviation for us and has the latest details, including disturbing new video of the moment of impact.
NTSB investigators are examining new dash cam video that captured the fully engulfed MD-11 cargo plane climbing to 475 feet before crashing into several businesses as witnesses ran for their lives. Owns Grade A auto parts.
All of those folks, plus everyone else that showed up to work Tuesday morning, expected to go home, and they didn't. And that's not how it's supposed to be.
The governor says a 13th victim has died, as UPS says it's with great sadness that it shares the names of the 3 pilots who died. Captain Richard Wartenberg, First Officer Lee Truitt, and International Relief Officer Captain Dana Diamond. 9 people are still missing.
There's so much charred, mangled metal that not all of the bodies may have been located until you look underneath certain things.
The National Guard testing air quality levels at the crash site. Technicians in Washington have downloaded the plane's charred black boxes, revealing 63 hours of data, including 23 previous flights and 2 hours of cockpit conversations.
We will do everything we need to find out what happened and to figure out how to keep it from happening again.
A key focus, the left side engine found between runways and the pylon that held it in place. Video captured it coming off the wing, then the fire. Investigators are looking at the 34-year-old UPS plane's 6-week maintenance work in San Antonio. An FAA report shows the inspection found corrosion in the center bilge area below the fuel tank and a center wing upper fuel tank lower crack requiring a repair. Cracks and corrosion are common in heavy plane maintenance. Several UPS pilots have said that they are not comfortable flying this MD-11 without some sort of a fleet-wide inspection. So far, that's not happening, but the NTSB says if it uncovers evidence of a fleet-wide problem, it will raise that red flag and urge the FAA to do exactly that. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Jack Frost is making his fall debut across parts of the country, ushering in some risk for severe storms, even a little snow.
Angie Lastman has your morning news now weather. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning to you. We've got a couple of things that are going to happen here over the weekend, and we're kind of in this transition period where, yes, it is still warm in some spots, but it's about to get really, really cold. Let's start with what we've got, leaving us with a little extra time needed for that commute this morning, and it's some rain working across parts of the Great Lakes. Eventually, that's going to work into parts of the Northeast here as the days go on. We'll also see the potential for some of those stronger storms to be developing in the Tennessee Valley later today. But notice there is a good amount of rain right along and ahead of this cold front, and that's essentially going to stretch anywhere from Alabama to Maine. So that's what we have in store through the day today. This is the little pocket of severe weather that we're concerned about. It looks mainly like we're going to see the wind gusts and the hail be the biggest threats, but of course we can't rule out a tornado or two. And notice Nashville is right in the bullseye of that slight risk. This morning, in the meantime, we've got some chilly air in place closer to the coast. So 23 million people are under these frost and freeze alerts this morning, and they stretch from essentially the Northeast down through the mid-Atlantic with temperatures anywhere from the 30s to the 40s. So that's this morning, needing an extra layer if you're heading out in Pittsburgh and points east of there. Meanwhile, we're going to see some chillier air kind of start to usher its way into really the United States. Here's what a typical kind of polar vortex looks like. You see this circulation around the pole. It keeps all of that cold air kind of confined to that region, but sometimes we'll get a little bit of a wave in it. And this is what our current vortex pattern looks like. So all of that cold air kind of shifting a little farther to the south over Canada. And then eventually that limb is going to kind of break off. We've got a low pressure that's going to eventually slide into parts of the United States. and bring all of that cold air with it. So this is where we really start to see temperatures plunging. We're going to see this Canadian low kind of sit over parts of the Great Lakes as we get through the weekend. And notice how far south that Arctic air gets. It's going to be kind of our first big cold snap, at least widespread cold snap of the season. And some of these wind chills are going to be really impressive by Monday morning. Notice this is just single digits where you see those lighter pinks, single digit wind chill values. We'll see feeling like the 10s, 20s, and even the 30s here as far south as places like Florida and the Gulf Coast. That's Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, colder than it should be for November and running 10 to even 25 degrees below normal in some spots. So we've still got the 20s on tap for just the high temperatures across the Appalachians, the 30s across the Midwest, parts of the Northeast, the 40s and the 50s. And unfortunately, guys, that stays with us into Tuesday morning. And we'll even see a couple of spots in the snowbelt regions picking up some snowfall because, of course, those lakes are so warm. The cold air comes across it. We know what happens. Science lesson today, lake effect snow.
I like the just ones.
Yeah, ones. I know, and it's going to be a rude awakening, I think, for some people. Take your jackets out of storage now.
You've been warned. You have the weekend to do it.
Exactly.
Right. Thanks, Ian.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.